The CEO's assistant was hiding a secret. "I don't hire people I can't trust." The CEO's voice silenced the room. Applicant after applicant lowered their eyes, until the last one. He stood perfectly still. Too still. Adrian Voss leaned back in his chair. "Your name?" The young man hesitated. Elias." Something about him felt familiar. Not his face, not his voice. Just a feeling Adrian couldn't explain. And Adrian hated mysteries, especially the ones that refused to leave his mind. Elias got the job because he was efficient, nothing more. At least that's what Adrian told himself. On his first morning, Elias arrived 10 minutes early. The office was empty except for Adrian. Without looking up from his laptop, Adrian spoke. "You're late." Elias blinked. "I'm early." "Then stop standing there." The response came instantly, cold, sharp. Elias nodded. No argument, no complaint. But as he walked away, Adrian noticed something strange. Most people were intimidated by him. Elias wasn't. He was cautious, like someone protecting a secret. Unfortunately for Elias, working for Adrian Voss would only get worse. For the first 2 weeks, Adrian Voss was unbearable. Every morning began with criticism. Every evening ended with another impossible task. The coffee incident. On Elias's third day, he brought Adrian coffee. Adrian took one sip, then set the cup down. "Too sweet." "I'm sorry, I'll make another." "You should have gotten it right the first time." Elias quietly took the cup back. As he reached the door, Adrian added, "Attention to detail is the difference between useful and replaceable." The words lingered long after he left. The meeting disaster. Everything was prepared, or so Elias thought. Halfway through an important client meeting, Adrian suddenly asked, "Where's the revised financial report?" Elias frowned. "The one approved yesterday?" "No." Adrian closed the presentation. "The one I changed this morning." The room fell silent. "You never informed me." Adrian's expression remained unreadable. "Learn to anticipate." Heat rushed to Elias's face. The humiliation stayed with him all day. Working late at 9 o'clock, Elias finally packed his things. His phone rang. "Adrian, come back." Elias stopped. "Sir, I need tomorrow's schedule reorganized." "It can wait until morning." "I wasn't asking." 2 hours later, Elias was still working. Adrian left without a thank you, without even a goodbye. The forgotten lunch one afternoon, Elias skipped lunch preparing documents for a board meeting. The meeting was a success. Everyone congratulated Adrian. No one noticed Elias hadn't eaten all day. When Adrian handed him another stack of files, Elias finally spoke. "I haven't taken my break." Adrian barely glanced up. "Then work faster." For the first time, irritation flashed across Elias's face, only for a second. But Adrian noticed, and strangely, he couldn't stop thinking about it. The rain, a storm, arrived that evening. Employees rushed home. Elias stayed behind, finishing another task Adrian demanded. By the time he left, rain poured from the sky. At the entrance, Adrian walked past him. Their eyes met. Neither spoke. Adrian got into his car. Elias walked home soaked. The next morning, he arrived on time despite a fever. Adrian immediately noticed, but instead of asking if he was all right, he simply said, "You're slower than usual." For the first time, Elias genuinely disliked him. And for the first time, Adrian felt guilty, a dangerous emotion for a man who never apologized. From that day forward, he started paying attention, far more than he should have. Days turned into weeks. Elias learned everything: schedules, meetings, coffee orders, deadlines. He seemed to know what Adrian needed before Adrian asked. It should have been convenient. Instead, it bothered him. When Marco Hale joined the company, everything changed. Confident, charismatic. the type of man who loved attention, and almost immediately, he became interested in Elias. One afternoon, Adrian walked past the break room and heard laughter. Elias was smiling, actually smiling, at something Marco said. The sight annoyed him instantly, for reasons he couldn't explain. Later that week, Marco cornered Elias by the elevators. "Dinner tonight?" Elias looked surprised. Before he could answer, "Employees are here to work." Adrian's voice cut through the hallway. Everyone turned. Marco smirked. "I was just asking a question. Ask someone else." The tension was immediate, and when Elias glanced toward Adrian, the CEO looked away first. The office lights were nearly off when Adrian found Elias still working. "You should go home. I'm almost finished. It can wait." Elias shook his head. "So can sleep." For the first time, Adrian laughed. A small laugh, barely noticeable, but it surprised both of them. The room felt different afterward, quieter, warmer, dangerous, not because of fear, because neither wanted the moment to end, and neither understood why. But Adrian realized he wanted to know everything Elias refused to say. Marco noticed things other people missed. The way Elias never attended company social events, the medication hidden inside his desk drawer, the way he stiffened whenever someone mentioned Omega registration. One evening, Marco entered the records department. A few bribes later, he was staring at a confidential file. Nothing. No registration, no scent profile, no designation, no history. A ghost. Marco smiled. "Found you, because only one type of person erased themselves that completely. A rare Omega. And the government paid very well for rare Omegas." Marco became nicer, too nice. Coffee deliveries, lunch invitations, small gifts, questions disguised as concern. "You're always alone. You work too hard. You can trust me." Every conversation felt like a test. Elias knew something was wrong, but he couldn't prove it. Then Marco invited him to dinner. Again and again. When Elias refused for the 5th time, Marco's smile slipped, only for a second. But Adrian saw it, and suddenly he understood something. Marco wasn't interested. He was hunting. The next morning, Adrian received an anonymous message, a photograph, Elias, the medication, the timestamp, the report number. His blood ran cold. He stormed into Marco's office. "Where did you get this?" Marco smiled. "So you know." Adrian's silence was answer enough. "They'll pay millions for him." Adrian's expression darkened. "He's not an object." Marco laughed. "That's exactly what he is." The punch landed before Marco finished speaking. For the first time in years, Adrian lost control. The authorities arrived that afternoon. Security blocked exits. Employees whispered. Panic spread through the building. Elias immediately understood. Someone knew. Someone had found him. For years he had been running, changing cities, changing names, changing identities. And now it was over. When the officers entered the lobby, Elias didn't run. He simply lowered his head, tired, defeated, until another voice spoke. "You're not taking him." Everyone turned. Adrian stood between Elias and the officers. The entire lobby froze. One officer frowned. "Move aside." "No." CEO Voss. "No." The single word echoed through the room. For the first time, Adrian wasn't protecting his company. He was protecting one person. The building emptied after hours. The crisis temporarily delayed. The investigation suspended. Elias sat alone in Adrian's office. "You shouldn't have done that." Adrian looked up. "I know. You could lose everything." "I know." Silence. Then Elias whispered, "Why?" Adrian stared at him for several seconds, long enough that neither could pretend anymore. Then finally, "Because the thought of losing you scares me more." The room went silent. Elias stopped breathing. Adrian continued, "You were a problem from the day you walked into my office." A faint smile appeared. "The worst problem I've ever had." Elias laughed despite himself, then cried, for the first time in years. Not from fear, from relief. Weeks later, the investigation closed. Marco was arrested for corruption and illegal bounty claims. The reward was withdrawn. Elias was free for the first time in his life. A new contract appeared on Adrian's desk. Employee name, Elias. Position, executive assistant. Special clause, employee safety and well-being remain under the direct protection of the CEO. Elias looked up. "That's ridiculous." Adrian signed it anyway. "I know. You can't just write that." "I already did." A pause, then Adrian spoke more quietly. "Steg,